and welcome to the What's the Story Hash Brown Glory podcast, episode 9. Not episode 8.
Definitely 9.
Adam telling me it was episode 8 and it was episode 9.
So if you watch the last one, we upped up, basically.
Adam fucked up.
Told us. He's gone now anyway, so.
Yeah, it's Edna now. I've got that joke. I could tell that joke, but I'm very oh no, I can't.
We can't get cancelled in the first season.
I've got such a great joke, but you'll have to ask me when you've seen it. Today we have Harry Gurney from the Cat and Wickets Pub Company, who has created himself a new life as a publican. He was a professional cricketer. But before we get there, we've got to carry on with this bloody story. But you are interested, now you are. Where are we now? Where are we now? What are we talking about today?
Oh, we opened, didn't we?
Oh, yeah!
Open the door!
Yeah, we opened! That was an exciting day.
We opened and it was just downstairs.
Yeah.
So we didn't have upstairs.
We didn't have upstairs or the garden.
Fucking hell, jinx.
Oh, moonlight jinx! Say your name 3 times, he unlocks it. My kids do that a lot. They do the same shit that I used to do when I was a kid. Yeah, anyway. So we opened the door, and I remember open at 10. Made a big sign out of it. Made a big made a big hoo-ha. Open at 10. We were busy. I opened the door at 10 and tumbleweed out the front door.
Do you remember
it wasn't busy.
Do you remember in Taylor when we opened the shop? We had a queue.
Yeah. It didn't happen here.
Expecting that.
Yeah.
Fucking
it didn't happen. And everything was, we didn't know how to make coffee. We didn't know how to use the till. We didn't know how we were going to present things really on the plates. It just kind of happened. We didn't know how to use the coffee machine, but not experts like we are today.
Yeah.
And the first person that came through the door, would you Adam and Eve it, was Danny Jiminson from the Hammer and Pincers. How lovely is that?
Our old boss and the first guest on this podcast.
And again, if you haven't listened to it already, episode 1's a hoot. And he came in and said hello and just didn't buy anything, didn't spend any of his money.
No, he didn't.
But he had a good look round. Just made sure we weren't doing any fine dining or getting rosettes and cleared off. It's all right, Sandra, there's no worries about those 2 idiots.
And then 2.5 years later, we're going to beat them.
Yeah. No. Well, yeah. So you may have heard, actually, that's a good point. I forgot about that. In the first episode, we've been invited, in the first podcast, we were invited back to the Hammer to do a versus night. So it was a fine dining evening, 8 courses? 10 courses.
10 courses.
10 courses. 5 each, 1 or 2 snacks and canapes and stuff. And then straight into the fine dining in a banqueting style boxing match. It was all voted. So the menu was on the one side and the voting card out of 10 on the left. And we added the scores up, and whichever was the highest scoring, it wasn't just the highest scoring dish, it was the highest scoring overall.
Over the night as
won
well.
the night.
Yeah.
And we won. We took down the 3 rosette guys with 2 idiots.
And that means we've got 3 rosettes now.
Yeah.
It's like conkers.
By default.
It's like conkers.
So if you
take their points.
If you're listening, Mr. AA Rosetta, we're ready for you. I mean that in a non-threatening way as well. So, I just mean we're ready. But not like Adam's ready for you.
He's always ready. He was born ready. Yeah. So we opened, didn't we?
We did
had
open.
2 weeks. 2 weeks for Christmas.
Yeah. And it was mental at times, actually. It got busy.
I was just working things out service-wise and how we do things.
Everything's changed since then as well. Everything's changed.
I can remember one of the best but worst days was probably Christmas Eve. On the couple of weeks after we opened was I remember there was you and Josh out front, and we had a horde of people arrive, and there must have been about 30 people in the front room, and then the pot wash machine broke, and then you got your saw out.
I know how to fix it. I'll cut it down.
I'll fix it. You got a saw out. Fucking idiot.
It was
a good day. Though, isn't it?
It was a good day. Yeah.
It's all fun.
It was.
What makes the memories.
And then we're closed for a week. Can't need the money that bad. That was closed now. See you in the new year.
Yeah.
But it was great, and we also had like a little launch night as well for our friends and the people that supported us
And the
during this.
crowdfunder, that was part of the crowdfunder as well, that you come to the kind of open night, as it were.
The soft launch.
Yeah.
And that was lovely as well to have everyone here, you know. There was just little, some people had massive input and some people just helped us with this little thing that was really tricky, and they were all invited, and it was really nice, wasn't it, that night?
It was
actually?
nice. It was nice.
Finally, we've got here. We're kind of realising a dream, the dawn of a new decade.
Yeah, everything was so new and shiny, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And didn't even
Smelled
have the
good.
menu board up because it hadn't come yet. Come like a day before we opened.
Yeah. It was awesome. Ah,
The memories.
the memories.
Right, who's our guest?
I'm actually just trying to think who the guest is. I was just acting there. That was a bit of acting where I remember who's
Straight
coming on.
back.
Oh,
There we go.
Say silly mid on, right? Because here comes Harry Gurney. Today on What's the Story Hash Brown Gallery, we welcome a chap who's had a very different career up until 8 years ago. Previously, he'd been slinging his hard red balls down a strip of glass they apparently call the wicket. Who knew? As a professional cricketer, Harry has played for Nottingham, Leicestershire, England and abroad. But today he's a publican slinging gastro, pub favourites, decent beer and refurbishing unloved gems. So it's time for me to have a crash course on cricket and find out what actually a fine leg is. Bring it on, or should I say, stay silly mid on. And because listen up, because here he is, Managing Director of the Cat and Wickets Pub Group, Harry Gurney! How many cricket puns did you count?
4, and you messed 2 up.
I did mess 2 up. It's because they're silly words. What does that even mean?
That is, I've never had an intro like that before. Thank you.
Have you?
No.
You never will again.
That was me. No, yeah. Enjoy it while it lasts. At least we captured it.
It's going to be on YouTube and everything.
Show my grandkids, yeah.
Well, welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
How are you?
Really well, thanks. Yeah. Gearing up we're going on holiday next week. It's half term, so we're getting bent over by a holiday company because it's half term holidays and getting away for a week. We're going to go to Kos in Greece.
Lovely.
Which will be nice after a hectic year so far. So looking forward to that.
I think you're well deserved of a break with what you've been up to this year. Some hard graft gone on, I think.
say, how's the refurb gone?
Yeah, it's gone really well. So we took on the Griffin sort of November 2022, and I was just sort of explaining to you both before we sort of came on air, if you like, that we spent most of last year really planning what we've now done and honouring a year's worth of weddings that were booked when we took over the pub, even though we didn't really, pubs aren't part of our business plan or our business model. But we felt ringing up and cancelling 60 brides' weddings would have been a pretty bad PR move. So
absolutely would have.
So
you chose the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. So last year was a busy year getting through that. And at the same time, we were rebuilding our other pub, which had burnt down the prior June. So, and then we closed on Jan the 2nd this year, did the big refurb at the Griffin, and that's now been open for about 6 weeks. So it feels like a good time to come
Has
up
it
for
only been 6 weeks open?
I think it was March the 25th.
You're just everywhere, for your launch, so it just feels like it's been there, reopened for a long time. So solid marketing.
Good, yeah, I'll tell Anna that.
Yes, I went in a couple of weeks ago, probably about 3 weeks ago actually, on a Tuesday evening, and the area that you've done through the bar, like honoured the kind of traditional and brought into the modern day, and then going down into what used to be the old wedding venue, really smart and like sleek, and get loads of covers in there. It was really nice.
Yeah, thanks. We the traditional bar at the front, which is the original bar, is really important to us and really important to the villagers and the locals and the regulars. And so there was never any thought really to change that or get rid of that. I think it's an ideal place to go with muddy boots or with a dog, or maybe if you just want a quiet beer by the fire in the winter. But as a bar operationally, it doesn't work. It's too small for the pub. Even before we did the work, it was too small. And so we needed something else. And that area, that new bar area, which is sort of the hybrid on the way through to the dining down in the stables, is the answer to that, and hopefully enables us to, service that courtyard area, the outside space, and the rest of the building as well.
So did you build that connecting bit as well?
No, so it's the old restaurant, so it was already there.
Okay.
But it was a strange, the whole flow of the pub didn't work. You sort of walked down from the old bar down a corridor, and on your right hand side was the old kitchen, which was disgusting, by the way. We didn't use it. We went straight down into the function room kitchen when we took over in 18 months ago. So that was sort of this redundant room, greasy room. So that's all been ripped out, and we opened up that room, and then we knocked through. So the far wall, as you walk down, there was a wall, and you had to go through a little fire escape and down some steps.
Yeah, and the toilet you moved the toilet as well, and now you've got the wine cellar kind of thing. You walk through that, and it's really effective.
Yeah, so we extended the kitchen, and we created a little glass wash and storage area for that new bar. And then in front of those, to hide those, we put these lovely wine cages. So although we've lost a little bit of floor space, it creates a nice, for want of a nicer term, corridor walk through down into the stables area, which is the sort of high ceilinged dining space overlooking the garden, which we think is the nicest room in the building, and was a room that stood empty 300 days a year as it was a wedding venue previously.
How did you manage to... But I reframe my question here. I'm always in awe of sports people who can go from yourself in terms of playing cricket or playing football, whatever, and then being so incredibly good and successful at what they do in such a short period of time. And I may be naive in saying that, and I don't want to offend you, but how did you manage to learn all this? From my gathering, it's 8 years since the Tap and Wickets.
Yeah, fake it till you make it, really, a bit like I did as a cricketer.
Okay.
It was, the biggest moment for me came in, I think it must have been 2020, maybe 2021, where I made contact with a guy called Lee Cash. So a good friend of mine, Alan Hardy, suggested that I find someone who'd been on the journey that I wanted to go on as a business owner, and pay them to come and teach me how to do it, basically. So I messaged a few people on social media, one of whom was Lee, and he totally ignored me, as most of them did. But one guy did come back to me, a chap called Robin Shepherd at Bespoke Hotels, and he came back to me and he said, I'm not your guy, but I've got the perfect guy, and his name's Lee Cash. So I said, brilliant, I've been trying to get in touch with him. So I managed to get on the phone with Lee, and he was so standoffish. And the reason I bring this up is because it speaks to what you're saying. I think he felt, he looked at me, I think, and thought, who the hell's this guy, thinking he can just come into our industry and be successful? Because, and I have to confess, I now look at other people coming into the industry and think the same thing.
I didn't want to cause any offence when I said I'm just in awe because it's hard work. That's my point.
Well, it is. And the reason I think we probably feel like that, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but the reason I feel like that, Lee felt like that, and you guys might, is everyone thinks they could run a pub or a cafe or whatever.
Yeah, they do.
And so a lot of people come into our industry and therefore fail because it's incredibly difficult to do successfully. So Lee was naturally skeptical, but I think over time I managed to win him over. And really, I do put it down. I don't take any of the credit for it. It's Lee has taught me pretty much everything I know about the pub game. And he gave me two gifts, really. One is the confidence that actually you can be successful in it and you can make money out of it, because the rhetoric is, don't go into pubs, it's doomed to fail. And he also gave me credibility. So when I was speaking to other stakeholders, Brody, for example, who's my business partner, as soon as Lee became involved, Brody sort of took everything I said as read all of a sudden, as opposed to previously probably questioning it more naturally, because he's thinking, well, do you really know what you're talking about? Yeah. Are you sure you know what you're talking about? Particularly when for the first couple of years we never made any money. So I didn't have any profit to give credibility either.
Right, okay. Well, there we go.
I always find the experience I've had with sportsmen as well, the mindset that you have to do to get to the top. You played for England, you played in the Big Bash in Australia, which is like the IPL as well. Your mindset to be a professional sportsman has to be like unbelievably high. So you've already got that kind of mindset, that work ethic within you, and that's half of hospitality, really. Yeah,
they do talk a lot about business coaching and sports coaching is a very similar thing in that you have to sort of reframe, go back, do it again, try harder, think about what you did, do it again. Yeah,
I think you're right. That I've always been quite goal driven. What's the next target, and that works well for me. So as you say, that's crossed over quite well into business.
So was that coming to the end of your career, was that always the plan, or was it kind of just like, right, I'm going to give it a go now when you kind of finished? Or
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I never really had myself down as an entrepreneur. I always thought that I would get a job in business or finance. I've got an economics degree. And then I sort of got to 30 and got married and had a kid and bought a house in Leicestershire and thought, oh, okay, I've ended up playing cricket for longer than I thought I was going to. Now the move to London after cricket's sort of not going to happen. So what am I going to do? And there was a period where I was quite concerned. Well, not concerned, but it consumed a lot of my thought.
Yeah.
Because within the game of cricket, you really, people tend to either become a coach, an umpire, go into the media, and that's about it really. And there are only limited opportunities. And I actually also, for whatever reason, had this urge to get out the bubble, because cricket's quite a bubble really. And as much as I loved it, I was quite keen to get out of that and see what else the world had to offer, after really giving my life to cricket from the age of 10 really, so 25 years. So yeah, and then the Three Crowns became available, which was my local pub just down from the Hammer, in Wymeswold in Leicestershire. And I had the stupid idea that I was going to take it on and put a manager in and put a head
that was
chef
the
in.
first thought about hospo then, at that point, because that's where it began in my head for your hospitality journey. That's where it began then, at like, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I was sat in the Three Crowns. I used to drink in there occasionally. I was supposedly a pro sportsman, but and yeah, the landlord and landlady said we're moving to Portugal, and I said, oh, I might take it on, and they said, whatever you do, don't take it on. And
so I listen to you. That's fine.
Exactly. So I sort of naively thought, well, look, I'll put a general manager in and I'll put a head chef in, and how hard can it be? And then sort of spent 5 years there, never really making any meaningful money, because I learned the harsh lessons of hospitality, while still for most of that period playing cricket at the same time.
So as well, you were away a lot, because you travel a lot with cricket, right? So don't you? So see, naivety's here. So you actually, like, I miss that when I'm away, because I've got the other business as well, and like things change and you have to like keep up to date almost. It's quite hard for me to sort of heed in, like, oh, what's gone on? And it's all positive. But it must be hard. Yeah,
it is. You're right. I was away a lot within the UK, but also in the winters, quite often going away. But also, I just, I didn't know what I was doing. I was sort of winging it really. I've got some drive and some determination, and but yeah, I mean, it's like going into a totally new industry.
Yeah.
And yeah, had to learn fast. And one of the things that I learned quite sort of early on into Lee joining the business, which was 3 or 4 years into the tenure of the Three Crowns probably, was that it didn't fit into the model that we'd come up with. We'd, by that point, opened the Tap and Run, which is sort of 110 cover gastro pub with a decent car park down the road. And yeah, the Three Crowns didn't really fit the model for what we wanted to build. So we had to put ego to one side and give the keys back. And that's one of the first things that Lee advised that we did, and that's what we did.
Yeah, that must be a big sort of not admitting defeat, but just being like, well, it's my admitting defeat. This isn't right for me. This isn't right for us.
Also, if you're going down that kind of a different road of not, instead of just collecting pubs, having the right pub. We're
style.
only picking the right pub that we want, rather than going, let's get that pub. We'll get that pub. Let's get that pub. And the other pubs are financing the other pubs. You just don't want that. You want them all to stand on their own 2 feet.
Completely agree. I mean, I think there are probably 2 ways of doing it. One is to look for pub opportunities and change your model to suit that building. That isn't my plan. Our plan is we think we've got largely what our product is now, the uniform, the drinks list, the menu, although those things constantly evolve, the style of fit out. And what we're looking for now is buildings where there are enough of our target market living within a 20-minute drive, so that we can go in and just put our model into that location. And in theory, never any guarantees, but it should work.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we've kind of been working on really in the last year or so, is getting, like say, the uniform, getting the menu all respied out, the look of the place, so we could actually just find a place and put it somewhere else as well.
Yeah.
We've gone to the point, I mean, this comes from Lee's background, but recipeing everything, specking it as the best that we can. I've put together spreadsheets. Who knew it? I've got spreadsheets now. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, I've run a business for 10 years, but I've never opened a spreadsheet. My staff do that, but I made spreadsheets, and they're so powerful, and really just a helpful tool that will be there forever now. We run our we come up with a new tart or something. We run it through the red, amber, green. See if it works or not. Yeah. If it's in all the margins, and still if it's got to be wicked as well. So there's a lot of parameters there. Does it taste good? Does it look good? Does it make us money? And
does it work in the kitchen as well? Because we've only got a tiny kitchen.
Yeah. And not just work in the counter as well.
Yeah, quite.
Things melt in the counter, just because they don't sit well.
Yeah.
So many things.
Well, I suppose as well, things like supply chain, depending on future locations, making sure that the suppliers you use are going to be able to deliver to you there at the right times. And that's been one of the steepest learning curves for me, actually, has been that menu development process. Because in the early years, what we did, again, through sort of partially naivety, was we've opened this pub, we've employed a good head chef on 35 grand, which at the time was good money for a head chef. Over to you, mate. Design a menu and let's go. And the problem with that is it exposes you, really, because you might get a really talented chef that comes in and produces brilliant food and makes the pub popular for a while, for a few months, maybe a few years.
And then they leave.
Exactly. And then they leave.
Or he has a day off.
Do we know?
Or he has a day off and someone goes, I prefer it when that chef works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that spec thing that you talk about is absolutely spot on. Photos of this is how it's presented. And now we've gone to 2 pubs. That's even more important, because what you want is, if you guys were to go and have a burger at the Tap and Run, I would hope if you then had a burger at the Griffin, it should be pretty much identical. And while that may feel slightly chainy, I suppose, I believe that people value consistency.
100%. We pride ourselves on, I think our strongest game plan is that we are consistent. If you have, no matter whether it's Chloe, Jacob, myself, Lee, Chloe in the kitchen, that full English, that full veggie will always look exactly the same. It would
just kill me if someone it's obvious that other chef's working. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No. Everything's made exactly. As soon as it goes on the menu, it's recipeed, it's made exactly the same.
We've all agreed.
Someone could walk off the street and knock out the food we're knocking out, kind of thing. It's that kind of, you may say that kind of chainy, but that's pure consistency. We get it to our standards, and that's how it stays.
And it's, and by the way, you two will know better than me. There are Michelin star restaurants that have fully spec menus like this as well. So it's not necessarily a chainy thing. There's no shame in it.
Yeah, I would say there's no shame in, there's a big stigma about chefs that I can make the best stroganoff, mate. And they just sling ingredients together. I don't know where that came from. I was going for risotto and I was like, don't say risotto. I've got the best stroganoff, mate. And then they're slinging things in. There's no recipe. It's all about the feels. It is about feeling, but it's also about knowing what you're putting in.
But you can do that.
They do it 2 days later. It's a completely different dish. I'll bake the mesh risotto, mate. I've switched to risotto.
Exactly. And the other thing that, with the specs that is crucial, which is a less sexy conversation, is it means that you hit margin. Because if you've got something like a smoked salmon on and you're getting it the portion out by 50 grams for an entire 4-month menu, it's going to cost the business hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So it's crucial. And these are all things that Lee's taught me.
I worked for my brother at his Wetherspoons in a couple of different places. And that was really interesting. I learned nothing about food there, by the way, but I did learn about how to run a business because they actually have even the portion pots are weighed out. So the tin of beans, you stand there just getting 15 or 30 grams or whatever of beans and putting in these pots. It's horrendous, for the earth. There's just little plastic boxes that were microwaved and chucked away, single use. But they were making money because they got their 50 portions out of the beans alone, and everything. And then those specs, again, they were all there. Everything was specced out. It was a big, understanding that, I see, they're not just letting people fling it out, and they can take anyone off the street and do this, which is important to their business model.
Well, it's like what we do with our sausage rolls to an extent, was we know it's 42 centimetres by 25 centimetres puff pastry. It's a kilo sausage meat.
And 7
it's
portions
rolled up
each.
and it's 7 portions out of...
Don't give all the secrets away.
That'll be in the book anyway, so it's fine. But it's having that consistency, though. When someone comes in, they know exactly what they're going to get. It's the same every time, and it's just crucial to us all the way.
It is. I mean, humans are if you're going to recommend a pub, the Griffin, to your friends and family, you're only going to do that if you have a level of confidence that they're going to have a solid experience. It's no good. You could, if you went twice in the next month and once it was the best pub meal you've ever had in your life, and the next time it was dreadful, even though the first time you went it was the best pub meal you've ever had in your life, you still wouldn't recommend it. So it's, for me, it's consistency, and our menu is designed with that in mind. So I went to the Devonshire in London last Monday, and
Very nice.
I mean, God, if you would, if Carlsberg did London gastro pubs, and if we were only ever going to have one pub like Oshin is there, that'd be your menu. We're building something that we have the ability to deliver consistently across multiple pubs. So, and you have to bear that in mind, because you're not going to have every hour of every day in every pub your most talented chef stood on the pots.
Yeah, it's true. Lee won't be there every day. See what I did there.
I sure won't.
See what I did there. So I think I'm not even going to press the jingle, because I think that's where it started, wasn't it? I guess was you sort of sat in the pub and decided that you were going to run it instead.
Yeah, I suppose it was really. Yeah. I mean, that's not the full story. We originally had a business partner called Dan, who was a mutual friend of Broady and I, who was running the Larwood and Vos at Trent Bridge at the time.
Oh yeah.
And so initially there were three of us, and
is there enough space for three people within a trio partnership? Is three a hard dynamic?
Well, I mean, the roles were reasonably clear.
Okay.
Probably not as clear as they should have been, and for a successful business. But Dan was, he was running the pub, because he was the pub guy. Broady was doing what he does, which is not a huge amount, but
I was going to ask, how good is Stuart Broad pulling a pint?
Well, useless. But he doesn't need to do a lot in order to offer value to the business. So there was that, and then there was me. My role was the one where there was a bit of grey, really. How active am I going to be? Dan's no longer with us. We sort of mutually went our separate ways, and he runs another brilliant pub, not a million miles away, called the Griffin in Plumtree. But and Dan's a brilliant pub operator. And then for a little while it was just Broady and I, and then since then Lee's come on board, and Jack, our head of ops, has also got a few shares now as well. So there's 4 shareholders currently.
Okay, yeah. So how did you define the roles then?
At the start,
based on skill set?
Yeah, at the start it was sort of back of a fag packet kind of thing. We have real clarity now across the business of, we'll have a job purpose document for each role in the business, exactly what the responsibilities are, what people are and are not allowed to do. And we have this thing called an accountability chart, which is essentially an org chart. So you've got the roles laid out of the senior management team and then pub level. And underneath each role is sort of 5 or 6 bullet points of the core responsibilities of that person. And that, it sounds simple, but that sort of does enough, really, because it just means that when you're wondering, who should be doing that, it's normally pretty clear from that accountability chart whose job it is to do.
Is that from Traction?
Yes.
That's an amazing book, isn't it? Yeah.
We religiously use that methodology to run our business.
Yeah. I've implemented a lot of things on there. My favourite one actually is Tangent.
Right.
When you're tangent alert, when you're having a meeting and then someone throws in a curveball. Oh yeah, we're talking about the GP and then the Scotch egg recipe. Stop. We'll talk about that in a minute. Write it down. We're going to finish this conversation. It's a good one because
Well, do you know what? I'm delighted you've read that, because that book sort of changed my life and changed the business.
Yeah.
As a methodology for running a business.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Oh my God, I absolutely love it. And the team, our senior team, have really embraced that. That is, we've been doing it for best part of a year now, and it's really bloody effective.
Yeah, it does get
changing.
Even just the top level though, because I'm all about brand new shiny thing, and I'll do something and then I'm like a puppy. I'll do new thing, but I never really sustain. But that even just the top level of defining your roles and your vision and your values. We've just done that actually. That's something, but then there's the next level of the Traction, which I'm guessing you're practicing, and we are definitely going to.
Yeah, I mean, I'd highly recommend
Gino Whitman,
fully embracing it. Yeah, it's
How to Be a Great Boss by him is a good one too.
Yes, I've read that one. Yeah. In fact, I got a bit geeky and basically read. There's a library, isn't there? They call it the Traction Library.
Yeah.
I read them all And yeah, I mean, it's a really great, you get the building blocks in place that you've described. So, vision, values, accountability chart, 1, 3 and 10 year business plan.
Do you have your number?
What do you mean?
Every employee has a number. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So every employer has a number. You don't have to tell me yours, but can you give us an example of?
I don't have one, but we do have the weekly scorecard, which every Tuesday morning we have a 90-minute management meeting. Where we sit down, and one of the agenda items is to look through the scorecard, which will have been filled out by the team prior to the meeting. And each person in the meeting will be responsible for one of the metrics on that scorecard. And in the meeting is myself, Anna, who runs our marketing, Laura, HR, Jack, Ops, Russ, exec chef, Ian, IT, who's a contractor who doesn't work for us, and then both the pub general managers. And so for each of them, we can say, right, NPS, for example, the tap and run NPS took a dip. Is there a reason for that? And if there is, we'll explore it. And if we think it's just a blip, then you sort of gloss over it. And we look at all the obvious hospitality stuff, really, dry margin, wet margin, labour from the previous week, NPS, new Instagram followers. We have a kitchen hygiene checklist, average wait time, and a couple of others that escape me. Variance, turnover variance against projected. And it's just, it sounds a bit boring and a bit corporate, but it's just a real great thing to do on a weekly basis. Just to keep on top of
but there are also things that you can see, oh, holy shit, like on a wasted sheet, there's 50 quid. We waste very little here, but there's a wasted sheet where there's like, I don't know, 20 poached eggs that go in the bin or something. Like, well, poach less eggs. Like, that's £2 a week. That's £100 a year.
But it's just looking at reports as well, because if you start seeing a trend, then you have to jump on it. You have to look at the reports to see if there's going to be a trend, and then you jump on the trend. If it's like, say, if it's just a blip and it goes back to normal the week after, it's like just mark it as like, right, that week something happened there and go back to it. It's just keeping an eye out, making sure that you're ahead of the game kind of thing. You're being proactive rather than reactive.
Completely. And having someone having a responsibility. So if the dry margin is 5% off, then, the exec chef's got to, investigate that and find out what happened and why it's off. And being proactive is the key. I mean, when we first started, we'd sort of every few months sit down with the accountant and he'd go, "You've still not made any money." And we go, "All right, shit. Okay. Don't know what, why." Whereas, now those meetings where you sit down and they go, "Your labour was 40%, you made no money." Those are sort of a thing of the past now, because we're so proactive. Not only are we monitoring it on a weekly basis, but what that's done is it's got the general managers looking forward. So, in theory, I should be able to sit down with the general manager and say, based on our projected sales, what's the labour percentage going to be next week at the Griffin? And I'm pretty sure they'd give me an answer. Which is to be in that position is awesome, because we definitely haven't always been in that position. So helps me sleep at night.
I think all too often people just open a place and it's scattergun. It's just, we'll just sell some sausage rolls, or
it's about systems as well. We've just implemented a new system, new till system, and it's changed everything for us, really, hasn't it?
It has. Everything's got faster.
Yeah, and
everything's got faster.
There's no shame in doing it by the seat of your pants a bit. I think probably most businesses start like that, don't they?
How you learn. It's just a massive learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. That book is great, though.
Oh, it's my Bible.
The traction geek.
It's my Bible.
Let's do more traction meetings. It's a good one for you, Adam.
This podcast's going to bore 90% of people, but the 10% that like it will love it.
Yeah, they will. Yeah. 80-20, that bad boy. I think you should ask some questions about Cricket Lee. I'm here to learn as well.
Okay. So where do we start with cricket?
I just scored a goal.
I just saw a goal. What's a 6 and a 4, Tom?
What's a 6 and a 4? They're numbers that add up to 10.
Correct.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Correct.
So, it was learning to me today that the grass that you're playing on, that strip, is the wicket, not the stumps. Must be very uncommon or commonly misconceived.
Yeah. It's got you call it the wicket, but then also you'd probably call the wickets. I mean, they're stumps, but you sort of call them wickets. There's a lot of weird language in cricket.
There is.
So who's the best player you played against?
Messi.
But I suppose I'm quite fortunate, really, that I've played against, through my experiences playing a bit for England and in the IPL and stuff like that, played against a lot of the top players around the world, really. So the number one probably would be Virat Kohli, who's arguably the best batsman ever.
And you're a bowler,
Yeah,
so you bowled
I bowled
towards him.
I bowled at
You
him.
bowled at him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
At his head, and he just whacked it for six.
He smacked me everywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
Although I did eventually get him out, caught on the boundary.
Very
so,
good.
But yeah, Virat Kohli. Who else? People that you'd have heard of, Tom. Kevin Peterson.
I have had a Kevin Peterson.
Yeah.
Yes. So don't blame it all. Don't base it all on me. Audience slip there. The broader audience can learn as well.
Yeah, pretty much all the current England teams sort of played with and against. Yeah, I'm very lucky. I've sort of travelled around the world and played with some really good cricketers and against some really good cricketers. And it's funny, first half of my career particularly sort of felt a bit of an imposter. You sort of think, gee, what the fuck am I doing here? I can't believe I'm sharing a pitch with this bloke who I've grown up watching or whatever. And then you come into business, the business world, and I'm probably still in the first half of my business career now, and similar emotions along the way, because you sort of come into it and you think, Christ, I'm going into something I just don't know. And yeah, I suppose it's just a case of getting your head down and trying your best to working and trying your best to keep learning as well. I think that's key, isn't it? That hunger for knowledge.
Absolutely, yeah. Just keeping open-minded about everything and getting, it's definitely the right thing to do.
What do you miss about cricket and being a sportsman, and what is similar to being in the industry you're in now to being a sportsman? What's the kind of differences and similarities that you feel?
I don't miss anything about being a cricketer.
You know,
no.
Do you play anymore?
No.
Not even.
Can't think.
Not
of
even
anything
quick
else.
cricket in the garden.
we have a pub day down Southampton Cricket, so if you want to be on our team, that'd be fine.
No, I can't.
Contractually obliged.
Yeah, I've already checked my diary. I'm not available. No, it's nothing personal. It's a cricket thing. No, I love the game of cricket. Still do, always will. But I definitely fell out of love with playing cricket for the last few years. And so, I feel really fortunate that I spent, 15 years living my dream, really doing something that I love doing. And I've now fallen into something, by luck, really, that I love equally, probably more. And so I do feel like I've never worked a day in my life. So I feel very blessed in that regard. I don't miss anything about playing. I mean, what do I miss?
The teas.
No, but maybe, it might sound, what do I, flying business class and staying in nice hotels and being paid loads of money was quite nice. Which, if I'm really honest,
we don't do this for free all the same. We're here to make money.
Yeah, and I don't want it to sound like I didn't enjoy I loved it. I look back on my career and the games I played in and the teams I played in. I loved it, but I definitely don't miss any of it. So many crossovers with business. Constantly looking for a competitive advantage. Look at the people down, the pub down the road. What are they doing? How can we do it better? And you're always doing that on a cricket pitch. I think performing under pressure. I think the biggest thing is probably resilience. So in a cricket career or even within a season, you have so many highs and lows. You might be playing one day, get 5 wickets on Sky, man of the match. Everyone thinks you're brilliant. You go home with a big head. And you rock up the next day and it's gone. Yesterday's gone. It's now about today, and you get belted everywhere in front of 1 million people on TV or whatever. And you go home thinking you're fucking useless. and so you just get used to that. And so when things like the fire at the Tap and Run come along, I think I probably, because of my cricketing experiences, it might sound ridiculous, but because of my cricketing experiences, I think I dealt with that a lot better than probably a lot of people would have done.
Yeah, I'm going to say, how did you
deal
with it? Because
we'd be defo, wouldn't we?
It'd be horrible.
Hands down the worst day of my life. But, you know, I can remember standing watching it burn down, and Jack was stood next to me, who's our brilliant head of ops. He was general manager there at the time. And I said, at least we can sort that fucking kitchen out. I hate that kitchen. You know what I mean? There's this big wall in there. We can knock that wall out, and we can do this and we can do that. And so it's that constant thing of, right, this shit thing's happened. Let's flip it.
Reframe.
Because there's no point sitting here dwelling about it, you know. And it was a pain in the arse, and I definitely never want to repeat it. But the tap and run is in better shape than it ever was.
I mean, but I think that was obviously a huge thing that happened. But, you know, if we get a bad review, it's like our building burnt down, you know. But then you learn that, well, okay, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to make sure, we've talked about this before on the pod, like how are we going to make sure that never happens again? I think that's just the big learning, isn't it? Like, okay, well, let's turn this into a positive. Yeah. I got to say, I would be Devo stood over outside Domino's thinking, this is still here, but we're burning down. Yeah. But, you know.
Grab yourself pizza while you watch something.
There's any free Diet Coke on your undercooked pizza.
They might do you one on the house. I think that's, you know, on the social media thing, that's an interesting one, because we, you know, as a professional sport, you know, the times you walk off the pitch and pick up your phone and someone on Twitter's telling you your shit. And that happens in business. I'm sure you guys get reviews and comments on social media, and you know, I don't know what your policy is on it, but we just tend to ignore them. And you know, the reason you see so many is the negativity bias. So and the algorithms on these websites are designed to make the most of that negativity bias. So every time something negative appears, more people see it.
It's because people are dicks.
Yeah, there's a lot of dicks out there.
There are a lot of dicks out there.
But it does bring you down. It's like you see one and you're like, oh, worked so hard today, and that one person is just like, I didn't get my toasty within 20 minutes. Like 700 people at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't like the size of the tea. That was one recently. Just ask for more water.
We got one tap and run burnt down. Literally the next week, we got a 1-star review on TripAdvisor because the tap and run had burnt down.
They're just.
We got one a couple of weeks ago. Came for a meal, really nice. Left my car in the car park overnight because I had too much to drink. And when I came back to collect it the next morning, the car park was locked. So 1 star. give us a chance. Yeah. I've got a great story actually. When I was playing, we had T20 finals day at Edgbaston. That's a form of cricket.
That's in Birmingham as well.
Yeah, that is in Birmingham. Yeah, and I think we lost the semi-final. And I walked off the pitch, and there was a guy. How badly can I swear? All the words.
Yeah, you swear. It's your personal brand, mate. So you do what you like.
So I've got this tweet. Say, I'm pretty sure it said Harry Gurney is a shit cunt. Right. So I'm like.
So I'm not a very good one then.
Yeah.
That's tough.
So sort of had a shower, went home, went for a drink, didn't go home, went back to the hotel, went out for some drinks, whatever. Next morning, I was bored in the taxi back from Birmingham to Nottingham where I lived. And so I thought, I'm just gonna look into this a little bit further. So I found the guy, Googled him, found his Facebook profile, and he was at Nottingham Trent Uni, and he was doing a year in industry at Rolls-Royce.
All right.
And so I took a photo of his tweet, a screenshot. Then I replied saying, that's not very nice, is it? At Nottingham Trent Uni at Rolls-Royce. So he immediately deletes it and then replies, I'm so sorry, never should have said it, I'd had a drink, blah, blah, blah. So I replied saying, I knew you'd delete it, but luckily I took a screenshot. But because I'm a good guy, I won't share it. So I didn't. And anyway, he was emailing the club, like apologising, asking to speak to me, asking for contact details. And, you know, it's a funny little story and it was quite satisfying for me, but I suppose it's a good example of, you know, the dangers of giving people too much of a platform. Yeah. And the other big learning curve for me on social media, which I definitely think of often when it comes to the business now, I was watching, I went to watch a cricket match. I think it was like Wymeswold third team. So this is a bunch of 50-year-old blokes who are basically avoiding their wives on a Saturday. Could barely walk, let alone play cricket. I'm sort of watching, we're having a laugh and a joke. And Peter Moores was stood next to me, who at the time was the Notts coach. And he goes, you know these blokes out there? I said, yeah. I mean, some of them are our friends, that's why we're there watching. So he wasn't being unfair, but he said, these are the guys that abuse you on social media. But it was a real eye opener because you sort of think, do you know what, he's right. And the people that abuse you on social, they just don't understand. Just like the people that abuse you for the price of your bacon sandwich don't understand the costs that go into producing that bacon sandwich.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sort of taught me to, you almost sort of have to just go, look, they just don't get it.
Is there just because of being in the limelight and having someone calling you a shit cunt on as you get off the pitch, is there support within cricket and within sport for your mental health? I guess I don't want to go woo woo on it, but I guess it's important to talk about. Is there places that you can go to talk to people about stuff if it's actually really messing with your head?
Yeah, I think it's getting better.
Even if it's to the coach or the players or whatever.
Most teams now have a full-time psychologist.
Okay. Right.
So there's them. And then the PCA are getting a really good, the Professional Cricketers Association. Each county is allocated an officer who can help you with, career prospects after playing.
Yeah.
Any issues you have during playing, you can speak to them. There's confidential hotlines you can ring. So yeah, they're pretty good. It's got better. Thankfully, for me personally, it's not something I ever have thus far in life have struggled with, but I think and I hope it's getting better.
Good. Very good.
Yeah. Should we do the quiz?
Yeah.
Let's quiz it up.
It's quiz time. Hang on, I've got a jingle. Pop quiz. Everyone loves a pop quiz. It's very quick.
It was awesome.
That was the most disingenuous awesome I have ever heard.
I've not pressed any buttons this
he's got
episode.
all the buttons.
Do we just going to shout, or do you want us to write anything down?
I mean, you tell me. It's your podcast. What do you want to do?
Have we got another pen? No.
Yeah, we'll shout it.
Shout.
Just
We'll
shout.
shout.
Yeah, just shout. And the first one to say their name gets to have first stab at the answer, yeah?
Go for
And
it.
if you get it wrong, the other one can steal.
Okay.
I'm just making the rules up now.
I like it.
Co-host. Do you want a new co-host? So I was under strict instructions to make it not about cricket because that would have been fair. And then I thought
Sabotage is my middle name.
and then should have done it about traction if I'd known, shouldn't I?
Oh, that wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fair.
So I'm making the quiz about Mount Sorrel.
Okay.
Oh, hello.
So question number one. Remember, shout your name
About
out.
Traction.
Mount Sorrel is known for its granite quarries. When did the large-scale commercial quarrying begin in the village? I need a century.
Tom, the 19th.
Correct, 1-0.
Just guess, man.
Question 2. What is the name of the historic castle mound in Mount Sorrel believed to date back to Norman times?
Oh, it's...
I remember this because there was a fire on it.
Yeah, there was a fire.
I don't remember
A
the name.
revival last year.
Yeah.
Let's call it...
Do-do-do-do.
Tom,
Hello.
Memorial Hill.
Mount Sorrel Castle.
Oh,
Hey, the name's in the... The name's in the title.
Original. Okay, still 1-0. Mount Sorrel. I mean, by the way, these are ChatGPT generated these about 10 minutes ago, so they might be wrong. Mount Sorrel has a famous watermill that has been restored and is now a museum and restaurant. What is the name of this mill?
Oh, the Heritage Centre.
1-1.
I don't see that as Mount Sorrel. That's way up there.
Mount Sorrel and Rothley Community Heritage Centre, apparently.
Yeah.
It's got a little train thing
Is
as
it
well,
Granite's? It's called Granite's, right? Or is that the bar?
I
Is that
don't
the
know.
cafe?
It's 1-1. Move on.
Question 4. Notable residents. Which famous English footballer who played for Leicester City and England was born in Mount Sorrel?
English.
Leicester and England.
Emil Heskey.
Tom, is it Kieran Dewsbury Hall? Is he from Leicester?
He is, but no, it's not him. I think he's from Shepshed. Peter
Yes, he's from Shepshed.
Peter Shilton is the answer.
He still lives here. He lives here, doesn't he? He's
Nah.
Sir
No,
Peter
born in
Shilton.
Mount Sorrel. Born in Mount Sorrel.
All
Sir
right,
Peter.
Sir Peter
Is he
Shilton.
Sir?
He got
We'll
to
go
do
with
the
it.
day.
Better to call someone Sir that isn't a Sir than call someone not a Sir who you should call a Sir, I suppose.
Yeah.
You follow that?
You ain't going to listen anyway, so he's fine.
It's good that neither of you got that right because now we've got a decider because it's 1-1 with the last question
That's
to
what
go.
the fifth question's about.
Mount Sorrel is located near a large river.
Tom, River Soul.
Correct.
I already got that as well.
Well, I got it.
Just too slow. Just too slow.
Yay! That's 2 for Tom. 2 up.
Man.
You know, I had premonitions of Lee equalising today. I was like, he's totally going to take the lead today.
So you winning overall, are you?
2 up, yeah.
Yeah, but we've been crap. Don't.
Yeah. Your questions have been answerable.
Right, okay.
It was, yeah.
Well, to start with, I was getting it to generate questions about brunch. And it was like, you know, what is a dish with hollandaise sauce and ham and a poached egg? I was like,
Full English?
Not doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it'd be embarrassing if we got those wrong, wouldn't it? Really embarrassing. Yeah. Harry, where can people say hello to you, reach out if they need to, if you even want them to?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and I post in like a bit like London buses. I'll have a little mad week where I'll post 3 times, then not for 3 months. But yeah, I always check in on the DMs if anyone wants to send me a private message or any of that kind of thing.
Wicked. And the pubs, remind people where they're located?
So we've got the Griffin Inn in Swithland, Leicestershire, just around the corner from here, which is also across all the social media. And the Tap and Run, which is in a village called Upper Broughton between Nottingham and Melton Mowbray. And again, it's across all the social medias.
Cool.
Now, just one final thing, actually, before you go. I think it's funny. I was driving to a wedding the other day, and Johnny Vaughan was talking about your pub. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. I should have messaged you. They were talking about...
Radio X.
On Radio X, yeah.
Really?
It's only because I was in someone else's van. I wasn't in my own van that Radio X was on. And they were like, yeah, Gurney's pub.
What was he saying, Gurney's pub, be honest?
Yeah.
He wasn't saying Stuart Broad's pub.
I think he said you both actually.
It's all right.
I think he did.
You don't have to.
No, I think he did. Well, you can listen back. I'm sure you get it. Ask him.
I'm used to it.
Get him invited.
I'm sometimes sat at the bar, and people are walking and going, "It's just Stuart Broad's pub, isn't it?"
Oh yeah.
But I'm sort of sat there, and the person behind the bar is like, "It's Stuart Broad and Harry Gurney, yeah."
It's a bit like Ryan Reynolds at Wrexham, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, no, that is definitely the case. But you know, I suppose that's why I'm sort of in business with Stuart. Really, he adds profile to the business, and I think you know it's that kitchen table talk I call it, where people are going, "Oh, have you heard Stuart Broad's open the taking on the Griffin, for example," and it helps get people through the door. I think it has its disadvantages as well. You know, we got an email the other day, or Broadie's agent got an email from a reporter at the Daily Star. Saying we're going to run a report tomorrow about some mixed reviews at the Tap and Run recently on TripAdvisor. If you'd like to comment, you've got till 6 p.m. tonight. And so, of course, we ignored it. And then the next morning, there's this article about mixed reviews at the Tap and Run. And,
just holding you by the red balls.
Yeah, a little bit. And I suppose no such thing as bad PR, but it isn't always sunshine and roses having Broadie involved. But yeah, definitely more positive than it is negative, and I think it adds quite a lot to our brand.
So is he a lot better cricketer then?
Miles better, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
probably the second best English fast bowler ever.
Yeah. Okay.
So
and I'm like the millionth best.
Okay.
What sport do you like?
I like tennis and golf are the ones that I enjoy to watch.
Okay, so he's like, I don't know. Got to be careful here. He might take offence. Let's go Andy Murray. And I'm like someone you've never even heard of who's, playing down Ingle Pingle in Loughborough.
He's probably...
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they're probably the British number 2 now anyways.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of another British tennis player.
Edmund, whatever his face is. That's the one.
No, I'm not as good as them.
They're not very good. There's not very good ones. Yeah. Well, Harry, thank you much. It's been an absolute pleasure. We've had a lovely conversation. I'm really glad you come on with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I loved that.
Well, you got a bit of knowledge about cricket in the end anyway.
Well, there is that, yeah. I still know nothing about cricket. I have very little interest in it still. But yeah, I think the biggest thing I learned was that Stuart Broad is way better than Harry Gurney at cricket. I had no clue. I thought they were very equal pegging on the cricket stakes. So there we go.
Live and learn.
You do live and learn. I really enjoyed that though. I think Harry's got a lot going on with his astute businessman. He's still open to learning, still open to getting new systems in place, focused, goal driven.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing what they achieve in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they'll do some
good place.
wicked
it's
stuff.
Grow. It's
Yeah.
going to grow big and it's going to
Yeah.
go good.
He's got a vision. He knows what he wants and he knows how to get there. So
Yeah,
good luck, Harry and Co.
very much so.
Yeah, well, that was episode 10, I think. Or was it
10.
9?
No, it's 10.
Oh, it was 10.
No, it's fucking 9.
I'm right, and everyone's wrong. That was episode 9 of
was so
What's the
many of
Story?
them.
Hash Brown Glory podcast. Thank you for listening.